What's going on, everybody? I'm the LA Nerd, and welcome to Not Safe for Work Nerd. This show is not okay for your kids or your grandma, so get them out of the room. Unless you're my grandma and you taught me how to curse and drink. This episode, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, just going to jump straight into spoilers because nobody likes talking about not spoilers. So this movie, from the beginning, spoils Avengers Endgame. So if you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch this video and don't see Far From Home until you've seen Avengers Endgame. So this goes straight into what happens with the snap, or as they call it in this movie, the blip, which I think is pretty much hilarious. It is, first of all, very Spidey. If you read the comics, it's very lighthearted and fun. But it also kind of gives it like a real world, real person feel. A lot of people, in the universe didn't know that Thanos snapped. So people just kind of blipped out of existence and then kind of just blipped back. So I guess the first thing I really like about the blip is that Betty Brant and another student are doing like an AV school newscast, which I just love the throwback to Betty Brant working at the Daily Bugle. I think that was really, really awesome. And there's just a really funny scene of the band members in the gym just kind of disappearing, everybody freaking out, and then them just coming right back into the same spot, and people are freaking out. And a really good explanation for, well, what about all the students that disappeared at Peter's school that people were kind of throwing out when the snap first happened? Apparently the people that blipped out aged 5 years, and the people that didn't stayed pretty much the same age. One of the characters named Brad, who's got a real big crush on MJ as well as Peter. That's kind of the main antagonist, actually, in the school life, which I thought it would be Flash, but they really, he's there as the bully, but the main school antagonist, I would say, is Brad trying to get after MJ on this school trip that they go to, which is Far From Home. They go on a European trip, and Peter is really trying to balance his Spidey life with his love life with MJ. He doesn't know that when he first goes out to Europe. He leaves his suit behind. He's really not looking to be Spider-Man on this trip. But when you're Spider-Man, you can't get away from that responsibility. Classic Spider-Man. So Nick Fury pretty much quickly hijacks Peter's vacation. There's a big water monster that comes out of the canals in Venice and attacks the class, attacks the city, and Peter jumps right into action trying to save everybody. He's got this adorable like Venetian mask on to hide his identity. It's great. And this is when he meets Jake Gyllenhaal, or Mysterio. And what I really like about Mysterio is that, and we're just going to jump forward. I'm not going to go up plot by plot in this movie. What I really like about Mysterio is that instead of being like a magician, right, like he is in the comic books, he's all the master of illusion. It's very heavily tech-based in this movie, which I think is a really good real-world explanation for who Mysterio is. Peter and Mysterio fight these elementals that Mysterio, Quentin Beck, says has destroyed his world, and now they're here on Earth to destroy our world. Great. He calls it Earth 616. Great throwback to the comics. But so Peter and Quentin, Mysterio, fight these elementals. It's tough, but they do it. They win against all odds. And this is when the movie starts to take the turn of Mysterio being the bad guy. Peter gets these sunglasses from Tony Stark as like a final parting gift. These glasses are named Edith, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, stood for Even Dead, I Am the Hero. These glasses give Peter kind of like an Iron Man suit-esque ability. He can like read people's text messages, get info on people just by looking at them. He can call in drone strikes, so on and so forth. He accidentally calls a drone strike on Brad, has to fight the drone while everyone's on the bus. It's pretty funny. But so Peter and Mysterio bond after fighting these elementals, and Peter, burdened with the task of being the next Iron Man, doesn't think that Edith was meant for him. And so he gifts them to Quentin Beck. He says, I think that you are supposed to be the next Iron Man. I'm just a kid. And I mean, if you are even slightly knowledgeable in Spider-Man, you knew that Mysterio was a bad guy. From the trailers, they try to make it look like he was good, like they're going to team up, but we all know that he's the villain. So this is the first point in the movie when Peter gifts him the glasses and then leaves. This bar that they were at kind of starts dematerializing, and it's really just an empty room, and every bar patron in there is working with Quentin. And we find out that Quentin created the barf technology that Tony shows in Captain America Winter Soldier, and he's scorned because Tony called it barf and didn't give him proper credit or whatever. But this is what I love, is that the suit is all fake. There is no real Mysterio suit in the movie. It's kind of like a mocap thing, and Quentin, he's created all these elemental fights with this fake hologram Mysterio, and he's just wearing the mocap suit and a fishbowl helmet to kind of give him the vision of what he's saying. I thought that was a really good choice. I really enjoy the fact that he's never really in any danger, and that kind of is Mysterio, you know what I mean? He's always trying to stay out of the fight, never wanting to get caught by Spider-Man, which leads to, I think, one of if not my favorite scene in the movie, which is the Berlin scene. So after Peter gives Edith to Quentin, ancillary plot shit happens. He fucking tells MJ, he's gonna stay in love with you, and she goes, "You're Spider-Man," and he's like, "What? No, I'm not Spider-Man at all." She figured it out. She's a smart cookie, you know what I mean? And before he can tell her how he feels, she produces out this part of the drone, and it's something that Quentin used to create all of the elementals, all of the scenes of the destruction. And I forget, she drops it or it malfunctions or whatever, and it shows one of the monsters and Quentin flying around it. Peter and MJ figure out that all of this is fake and that Quentin's been staging it and that he's the bad guy. So Peter goes, "Oh, fuck, yeah, I actually am Spider-Man, and I need to solve this now, so we need to get the fuck out of here." So again, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. The school trip decides to go home. Peter has a cover that he's staying with family, and he follows Quentin to Berlin. He gets there. Nick Fury picks him up in an Audi, product placement. Nick Fury takes him to some S.H.I.E.L.D. compound. Peter's like, "Yo, Quentin's the bad guy. We got to fuck him up." Boom. It's not Nick Fury. It's actually Quentin Beck, a.k.a. Mysterio. Classic Mysterio. He's tricked Peter into telling him everything he knows, and now he has to die. So great fucking fight scene happens. This comes like straight out of the comic books when Spider-Man fights Mysterio. He thinks he's shrunken down into a tiny man in this weird carnival. This is in the comic books. Fights like a giant Mysterio, like a huge Mysterio. And this is great. This is like straight from the comic books. Peter is fighting Mysterio in these dark rooms. There's, glass walls everywhere, mirrors, giant lockers. He's fighting Mysterio. He doesn't know where he is. Big hands of Mysterio punch out of the walls and hit him. Just a great Spidey fight scene, and he's getting his ass kicked because he's never done something like this before, and I love it. It's pushing the boundaries of Spider-Man, which I think they pushed him in Homecoming. They're pushing him in this movie, and I just really love the way that they do this. So Spider-Man's getting his ass kicked, right? Right before he's about to, lose the fight, you hear a gunshot. Quentin Beck falls. The shit dematerializes. Nick Fury's standing there, and he's like, "Oh, we're here to save your ass. Who else did you tell? You fucked up. God damn it. You have to tell me who you told." Peter's like, just MJ and Ned, some kids in my class." Boom. Dematerializes again. It's actually Quentin Beck again. Pushes Peter onto some train tracks. He can't see that because it's an illusion. Gets rammed by a train. Mysterio, monologues that he has to now kill the students and Peter. And so turns out Peter didn't die because he's the main character, obviously. He's attached to the train, passes out on the train. ends up in like Switzerland or wherever the fuck. Skip this part. It doesn't really matter. So now Mysterio knows that some of the class members and Peter know that he's the bad guy. So as he's creating this final battle scene that he's got with Edith, making it real damage and really gnarly, he's planned like a combined elemental attack on the London Bridge. Sorry, the Tower Bridge. I'm an idiot. He's going to kill the students that know while saving the day. Lo and behold, Spider-Man gets picked up by Happy. Fly away, have this really cute moment about missing Tony. Spider-Man creates his own suit. It's really badass. Happy's like smiling, like, oh, he's the new Tony. Spider-Man comes to the Tower Bridge to save the day. And while this is only, I would say, the second like really huge battle scene in the movie, it's again one of my favorites. Spider-Man comes to save the kids. He flies right into the elemental because he knows that it's fake. And he starts jumping on all the drones, doing Spidey acrobatics, and we get to see like his taser webs, which I think is a great throwback to the PS4 game. You know, he connects all the webs to all the drones and then zaps them, and part of the elemental illusion kind of like disappears, and Mysterio freaks out, and he's like, you know what, fuck it, take the drones down. Let's fucking try to kill Spider-Man. So great fight scene between Mysterio and Spider-Man. Lots of great acrobatics. We get to see the Spider Sense, which they've stupidly dubbed the Peter Tingle. Not huge on that part. But he gets up to fight Mysterio in the top of the Tower Bridge, and Mysterio just illusions him into a dark black room. Can't see anything. Peter takes a deep breath and just jumps around in this black room, destroying every single drone. Some of the drones stop firing, and Mysterio's like, what the fuck, Edith? You are in the strike zone. Mysterio's like, I don't give a fuck. Kill that kid right now. And so catches a ricochet bullet. Peter stops all the drones. As he's monologuing with him, like, why did you do it? You were my mentor, blah, blah, blah. He catches a hand out of nowhere that's firing a gun. And again, this was all an illusion, but you can't fool Peter now that he's got full control of his Spidey sense. It's Quentin Beck holding a gun. He wins. He saves the day. Spider-Man and the class get back from vacation. Ned and Betty break up, which I just think is hilarious. I think it was a really good way to kind of like get the man in the chair, which he was in Homecoming, kind of out of the picture, so we could have other relationships in this movie, like Edith and Quentin and Nick Fury and all these things. I think it was a really hilarious plot point, and they get back, things are normal, and we finally get to see Spider-Man web swinging in New York City. This is awesome. We didn't get to see this in Homecoming, and it's something really cool that we get to see here. He's thwipping through buildings using his little flight suit to go through arches, and what I love is he's texting. You know, he'll web with one hand, toss the phone, web with the other, and he's getting a text from MJ that's like, don't, web and text. Cute. And then the mid-credits scene, something that people had heard about, people had rumored about, but we got to see J.K. Simmons reprise his role as J. fucking Jonah fucking Jameson, and it was awesome. It was a really, really cool scene where he's got this InfoWars type news show, kind of balding on top, different mustache, but it's clearly J. Jonah Jameson, and he shows a video, and this is where Quentin Beck proves once again he's the master of illusion. Of Mysterio had recorded a video saying, help me, Spider-Man's going to kill me, he's going to activate all the drones, and then he's got audio of Peter saying, execute them all. He meant execute the protocol to stop the drones on the Tower Bridge fight. So he's made Peter out to be this menace like he is in the comic books, and J. Jonah Jameson is like, Quentin Beck's a true hero, Spider-Man's the bad guy. The cherry on top is that they reveal that Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. Whew. That's got some implications for the next movie. Before we get into the end credit scene, I want to talk about maybe where we could go from here in the next movie. I think if the world knows who Peter Parker is, I think a great villain for the third movie would be Kraven the Hunter, right? If Peter goes into hiding because people know who he is, or he's trying to avoid the public eye because everyone thinks he's the bad guy, but these other bad guys are still out to get him. Who do you hire to kill Spider-Man? Peter Parker. You hire Kraven the Hunter. Another cool throwback is a S.H.I.E.L.D. goon, S.H.I.E.L.D. hired gun, whatever mercenary in this movie. His name was Dimitri. If you look into that a little bit more than you should, Dimitri is the Chameleon. Chameleon is stepbrothers with Kraven the Hunter. I think this would be a great way to add Chameleon and Kraven into this Sinister Six team that I think they're trying to build with Vulture and Scorpion, Mysterio, Kraven, Chameleon, and I'm hoping maybe they round it out with Doc Ock somehow. I don't know how they're going to get there or if they will, but I think I'm going to make an assumption that Kraven's going to be in Spider-Man 3, whatever they decide to call it. And God, I hope it's better than the original Spider-Man 3. So in the end credit scene, we figure out that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been hiding the fact that Nick Fury and Maria Hill are actually the Skrulls from Captain Marvel. We got Talos and Soren, and there's a lot of hinting towards this throughout the movie. If you go back and watch it the second time, which I did, Nick Fury's not really acting like himself. He doesn't really know answers to questions. He's kind of skirting a fight. He doesn't really know what he's doing, and it's all explained because it's not really Nick Fury. And he calls Nick, and he's like, hey, we got a problem. There's a lot of these answers I can't answer. Nick Fury's in Tahiti, his little space Tahiti. He's on a big spaceship with a bunch of other Skrulls, and I think this is trying to show us SWORD, which is the intergalactic shield. And I think that's a really cool kind of just like Easter egg if you want to read too much into it or not. And I guess Nick Fury's coming back to work. So the big question is, how long has Nick Fury been gone? Has it been since he died in Civil War or Winter Soldier? Or has it only been since the blip in Endgame? Has it been since Captain Marvel? We don't know. Are they leading towards Secret Wars with all these Skrulls? We don't know. But I love that they just keep throwing new things at us. I love that they're using the Skrulls more. And I just think this movie did so much for the end of Phase 3. And I'm very excited for the future of Marvel. All right, we talked about Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm going to give this movie like a solid 8 or 9 out of 10. I liked it way more than Homecoming. I just think there was a lot more at stake. I think the bad guy, I think Jake Gyllenhaal and Mysterio was way cooler than Michael Keaton and the Vulture. Not to talk shit on him, I thought that was great as well. This, I just feel, did a lot more and was a lot cooler. And we got to see the Spidey sense, so fuck yeah. All right, guys, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. I am the LA Nerd, and this is Not Safe for Work Nerd. If you came here from my podcast, thank you so much for supporting me. If you didn't come here from my podcast, I have a podcast called Pop, the Pop Culture Podcast. You can find it on iTunes or Shout Engine, and it's my buddy Taylor Salen and I. We do kind of this, but more in depth. This is just kind of my way to have my own creative outlet about nerdy shit, you know what I mean? So please like and subscribe this. I'll see you guys next time.